This is my friend Groot, a character created by Marvel Comics. Luckily for the voice actor that portrays him, his dialogue consists of only 3 words. I am Groot. And it is these 3 words that somehow perfectly manage to describe me. Now, you may be wondering how this otherwise profound and insightful TED event has led itself to, well, this. You may also be wondering, what is it about this guy dancing in front of explosions to one of the catchiest songs of all time that I see mirrored in my own life? What's more, what does he have to do with you? Or any of this? Well, he, although admittedly a little short and concerningly leafy, somehow perfectly illustrates the way I navigate a major aspect of my life. Chaos. All right, I'll admit, my life doesn't involve as many explosions or world-eating monsters as Groot's. But it gets pretty chaotic as well. You see, what I admire about Groot specifically is that he has this incredible ability to weave the surrounding chaos into a soundtrack he can activate and come out the other end a better person. Or leafy creature, at least. You see, he's not your typical hero, blessed with superpowers to always defeat evil, but rather recognizes its presence, gets out of its way as to not get hurt, and continues enjoying his music. If this way of dealing with chaos works for him, why not for us? Now, chaos has been sprinkled throughout my life. However, I only realized just how chaotic my life can get after this year's October half-term. To provide a bit of context, this form of chaos has been brewing itself since winter of 2019, when my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease that attacks parts of the brain. Over the years, her condition has had its ups and downs, with a noticeable improvement right before that half-term, prompting us to go on a holiday in Italy. We had an absolute blast and honestly spent some much needed family time. However, chaos erupted as soon as we got back, when her condition worsened and she was hospitalized for 4 weeks. The time that ensued was honestly as chaotic as it got. I had to juggle winter exam revision, the IB with all of its difficulties, and be there for my parents without necessarily knowing what the next day held for us. Good news is that she is slowly getting better now, still powering through with a very similar mindset. She's actually made it all the way here to this TED Talk today. But thank you, but that's besides the point. You see, this difficult time made me realize just how important it is to have a way to deal with chaos. A way that can allow us to deal with the ambiguity, confusion, and disorder brought by it. It just so happened to be that my way was Groot's way, trying to stay positive. Now, by no means am I saying that the right way to deal with chaos is to toxically remain positive. What I am saying is that it's worthwhile spending some time on deciding a conscientious approach to dealing with chaos. Your own unique conscientious approach. Having said that, I realize that deciding the steps to that approach can be difficult. I mean, even when I was drafting this very TED Talk, I struggled to break my own steps down into such tangible processes. This difficulty behind doing so is what makes realizing what those steps are for you so incredibly rewarding and meaningful. Now, when I was breaking my process down, I realized that my Groot philosophy is actually much more than just staying positive. It's actually my own untranslated version of an existing scientific theory. Chaos theory, to be exact. In short, it is a science that studies the constant transition between order and disorder in our natural world. Whether it be in the most precise field of mathematics, or relating how a butterfly flapping its wings in Texas can actually lead to a tornado forming in a different part of the world. Now, although chaos theory mostly applies when trying to model unpredictable mathematical relationships within our environment, we can actually use it to approach the chaos within our lives. You see, it hinges on understanding three key concepts about chaos that once we implement, we are near guaranteed to come better off the other end of it. The first of which is understanding that chaos is an entirely natural phenomenon. In the same way we can't have day without night, or happiness without sadness, it is actually unfair of us to expect perfect conditions without, well, disorder. If anything, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the order once it does arrive, as we would have nothing to compare order to. If we rewind to my butterfly analogy, a butterfly flapping its wings is about as natural as an action can get. Now, meteorology tells us that air particles can accumulate to form a tornado. Although the connection between those two events can initially seem random or chaotic, it is actually enabled by our very own laws of physics, an entirely orderly and precise set of rules. By applying this understanding to our day-to-day lives, we can realize that seemingly ordered or perfect circumstances can actually lead to chaos evolving. And that's okay. By understanding that, we can allow ourselves to not be as surprised when chaos does inevitably and unpredictably arrive. This brings me on to the second concept we need to understand about chaos, and that is, it's entirely unpredictable. In an ideal world, we would know the exact moment disaster strikes. There wouldn't be much chaos, if any, as we would have the ideal amount of time to prepare for the rapid transition into disorder. This is reality, a world where, sooner than later, a disaster will inevitably arrive. You see, what chaos theory tells us is that although we may not be able to predict the exact moment disaster strikes, we can actually make small changes to our day-to-day habits in order to do the following. Plan our lives, but expect changes, and realize that our pictured final destination may not be where we actually end up. By grasping that idea, we can allow ourselves to live more in the moment without worrying about some potential oncoming chaos. Much in the same way that I was able to enjoy that holiday with my parents without worrying about my mother's potentially worsening condition. A form of chaos that I couldn't even control anyway. This brings me onto the final concept we need to understand about chaos. And that is, it's an entirely temporary phenomenon. Like any other storm, it too will pass, and the transition to order may actually be closer than we might think. But that doesn't mean we should ignore any feelings we have felt during this chaotic time. If anything, we need to put gravity on those exact feelings in order to learn from them and grow as people. It is okay to stop and take it all in. But it's important that once we do, we get back up. We keep moving forward and we seize the next opportunity with the wisdom this latest form of chaos has just bestowed upon us. Before I go, I'd like to leave you with this image. For those not so mathematically inclined in the room, which was also me a while ago, this is a fractal, a shape that infinitely repeats itself the more we zoom into it. It's a key element behind visualizing chaos theory for many mathematicians around the world. I found that, much like our lives, it seems to be compiled of random or chaotic clusters of shapes, or in the case of our lives, moments, that actually come together to show us the true beauty beyond the chaos. Thank you.